Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Live at 4 on this Tuesday. Nice, not a bad day outside.
No, all is quiet, sunny, a little on the chilly side, but not bad for January.
Absolutely not. We'll get to the weather in just a minute, but first, here's what's making news on this Tuesday. The first day of the impeachment trial against President Trump begins in Washington. The
first case of coronavirus on U.S. soil is reported in Seattle.
And the Wisconsin Department of Justice is asking convenience stores to join the fight against human trafficking.
Let's take a look outside today. It's always nice to see the sun. It's relatively mild
but a frosty start to the day.
That's true. It was very cold this morning, and
oh, milder.
Whenever it's milder, there's always a downside.
And a price. Dana is in the backyard. What price is that?
We may see just a little more snow coming through in our near future, though it won't be too much. That's the good news. Right now, here's a live look with our Edgewater Sky Cam. You see the tracks across the lake. A lot of people out ice fishing. I was watching some kids run around on the ice just a little bit ago. It is a chilly January evening. Not too bad, again, for the middle of winter. But looking at our temperatures overnight, it is steadily going to become more mild. So here in the next few hours, we'll drop to the mid-teens. But by tomorrow morning, we'll be back to the lower 20s. A warm front passing on over brings some milder conditions with that snowy price. So Wednesday night into Thursday and for Friday, we do have alert days in the forecast now. The light snow coming in is going to start to reduce our visibility at times. Also expecting some fog as our temperatures rise. They'll be pretty close to our dew points. We'll take a closer look at what's ahead with that light snow and a few accumulation totals in just a few minutes. Right now, I do want to take a quick look at our traffic. Thankfully, no major accidents to report. Here's a live look right now at East Washington and 2nd Street. A lot of folks hopping on the roads. Things look a little busier than they did this time yesterday. A lot of people, of course, having Monday off. Slowdowns on the eastbound side of the Beltline just before Fish Hatchery Road and near John Nolan. Around Janesville, all is smooth, and the interstate going down to the state line should be pretty smooth right now. 26 minutes to get from Janesville to the Beltline, 18 minutes to get from Sauk City to Middleton, and some Prairie to downtown at about 16 minutes on this January evening. You'll need the shades. We still have a pretty clear sky, so the sun's coming through right now. Nice and bright.
And I notice the average high is going up.
It is. We are moving in the other direction now. Our average highs are starting to go up, average lows also.
And the days are getting longer.
That's right. It won't be long.
Yeah.
All right, Dana, thank you.
Thank you, Dana. There is breaking news into the Channel 3000 Alert Center. The Madison Metropolitan School District says a student at Madison West High School has been arrested for bringing a gun to school. School officials sent a letter to parents this afternoon explaining the situation. There is much more information on this developing story on our website, channel3000.com. The first phase of President Trump's impeachment trial is underway in the Senate.
House managers and the Trump legal team are debating over the rules for the process. Senate Republican leaders announced changes to their rules resolution after some pushback from party moderates. Natalie Brand is on Capitol Hill with the latest.
Then, Mr. Cipollone, your
House managers and the White House legal team sat at opposing black tables on the Senate floor as they began debate on the organizing resolution that will set the rules for President Trump's impeachment trial.
A partisan impeachment is like stealing an election.
Witnesses will tell their stories in books and film. The truth will come out.
The resolution will now allow each side up to 3 days to present 24 hours of opening arguments after pushback from moderate Republicans. That will be followed by 16 hours of questioning by senators. Only then can they debate and vote on whether to have witnesses. The House impeachment record will also now automatically be admitted into the evidence.
This is the fair roadmap for our trial.
The McConnell resolution will result in a rushed trial with little evidence in the dark of night.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer will offer amendments requiring witnesses and documents at the outset of the trial, despite the majority leader's threat to table them.
The president's defense team in a legal brief argued both articles, abuse of power and obstruction of Congress, are not impeachable and accused Democrats of, quote, a dangerous perversion of the Constitution.
President Trump weighed in on impeachment while meeting with world leaders in Davos, Switzerland.
That whole thing is a total hoax, so I'm sure it's going to work out fine.
Opening arguments are expected to begin Wednesday afternoon. Senators will leave their electronics in this cabinet and sit silently during the marathon trial proceedings. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And House managers sent a letter to the White House requesting that lead defender Pat Cipollone recuse himself from the Senate trial because he is in fact a witness. The White House responded in a statement calling the letter a, quote, political stunt.
And as you just saw there, as President Trump's impeachment trial begins, he is thousands of miles away in Switzerland. He's attending the World Economic Forum in Davos. In a meeting with the president of the European Commission, President Trump sounded off on his impeachment trial that is just getting underway in Washington. He called it a total hoax. The president also announced the U.S. will join the 1 Trillion Trees initiative. It's a collaboration between the world's 3 largest conservation organizations to restore depleted trees. 17-year-old climate activist Greta Thunberg pressed leaders attending the forum to focus on drastic cuts to carbon emissions.
New at 4, Vice President Mike Pence is making a stop in Madison next week. Officials with his office say he's scheduled to attend the Wisconsin School Choice Student Showcase next Tuesday in the Capitol Rotunda. Pence attended a rally in Milwaukee last week with President Trump. Wisconsin is seen as a crucial swing state in the 2020 election. Another longtime state Democratic senator says he will not seek re-election this fall. Senator Mark Miller of Monona made the announcement today. He is a former fighter pilot who served in the Senate since 2004, including serving as minority leader from 2011 to 2012 during the Act 10 protests. Senator Dave Hansen of Green Bay also announced his retirement this month. The Wisconsin State Senate has approved funding for programs to combat homelessness.
This follows multiple ignored requests from the governor to get the funding released. Our Amy Reed joins us live from the Capitol to explain how the debate went today. Amy?
So the Assembly passed this in June, but still senators took nearly 2 hours discussing this legislation today. Now, the bill will give an additional $500,000 each year to grants for homeless shelters. The money can be used to help supplement the costs to operate those shelters. Today, senators talked about the necessity of approving this funding as well as the bill's limitation. One senator from Milwaukee brought up the fact 3 people experiencing homelessness died in November, including a war veteran in Janesville.
So we're not just talking about luxuries of having a roof over our head or someplace to go. We're talking about life and death.
This is a very complex problem. We've been talking about it. It's a matter of mental health, and we need to address that issue. It's a matter of relationships, that has been said. It's a matter of job skills and education. Many of you have mentioned these.
Those concerns on the limitations held up the debate for nearly 2 hours, though eventually the Senate was able to get it passed with no dissenting votes. You may remember after this funding cleared the Assembly last year and the Senate failed to pick it up, Governor Tony Evers ordered a special meeting of the Joint Finance Committee to release the funding. The leaders of that committee essentially said no, they would get to it in time. Today they did. Now we'll see if those discussions that were brought up in the Senate about these other ways to combat homelessness result in any bills in the future. Back to you.
Amy Reed, live at the state capitol. Amy, thanks.
A Kentucky franchise company that owns several fast food restaurants in southern Wisconsin has been fined for violating child labor laws. Manna Incorporated is based in Louisville and operates several Wendy's in Madison, Janesville, Fitchburg, Sun Prairie, and Beaver Dam. The company also owns the Fazoli's on Madison's east side. Investigators found around 14 and 15-year-olds working in the restaurants. While they are able to work, they're not allowed to work outside of legally approved hours. The company will pay nearly $160,000 in violations.
Madison police say they've arrested a teenager who has allegedly stolen several cars in the past. Officers say the 15-year-old was seen near a stolen Honda Pilot on Birch Hill Drive near Raymond Road. He has been arrested several times in the past for similar incidents. Witnesses say the teen was asking someone for a snow scraper to clear snow off the car. After trying to run away from officers, he was quickly arrested. The Wisconsin Department of Justice is taking the fight against human trafficking to your corner store.
They're educating convenience store owners and employees about the problem. Charlotte Deleste joining us now with more on this new effort. Charlotte?
Well, Mark and Susan, human trafficking is a crime that isn't the easiest to spot, even when it's happening right in front of you. The latest front in the fight is in convenience stores. Appearing at a press conference at a stop-and-go store in Cottage Grove, Attorney General Josh Kaul appeared with the State Patrol and convenience store owners, announcing they will team up in the fight to educate their employees to recognize victims of human sex trafficking, but also to let victims know that convenience stores can be a safe place for them to get help.
The partnership we're announcing today will help more people know the signs of human trafficking and what to do when they see those signs.
I personally have a passion for this topic and would like to see it end, and will do everything that I can.
Kaul says state agencies will provide convenience stores with training and materials to raise awareness to recognize victims and what to do if they suspect human trafficking. The convenience store industry in Wisconsin is made up of nearly 50,000 workers at roughly 3,000 stores all across the state. Today's event was part of the Department of Justice's efforts for Human Trafficking Awareness Month.
All right, Charlotte, thank you.
The Centers for Disease Control is reporting the first case of coronavirus in the United States at the airport in Seattle. At least 6 people in China have died from the virus, and nearly 300 people have been infected. The virus causes pneumonia-like symptoms and appears to have originated in the Chinese city of Wuhan. Workers there spent the day disinfecting the streets. Concern about the disease spreading has intensified after doctors confirmed the virus can be transmitted from person to person.
We know it can spread among humans from person to person, but is this frequent? Is it common? That's something we don't know quite yet.
The outbreak comes as millions travel for the Chinese New Year. The CDC is adding screenings at 2 more airports this week in Atlanta and Chicago. It is also raising the travel health notice from level 1 to level 2.
Prince Harry is in Canada, reunited with his wife and son. He arrived in Vancouver overnight after what may be his last event as a senior royal. Prince, and yes, he still gets to use that title, Harry arrived in Vancouver last night and was immediately whisked away to rejoin Meghan and 8-month-old Archie. Only hours before, Harry had wound up his job as a senior representative of the royal family at a conference on African investment. Harry and Meghan's exit likely means even more work for Prince William, the future king, who with his wife Kate were on duty at Buckingham Palace for the first time, primary host of a reception. The previous day, Harry had told a meeting of his private charity there had been no option but to go.
We are taking a leap of faith, so thank you for giving me the courage to take this next step.
Keeping the young family safe is going to cost a fortune, and British or Canadian taxpayers are likely to get the bill.
Well, there's more at 4. Are you thinking about cutting the cord and streaming TV instead?
Consumer Report says it may not be as easy as it sounds. We'll have the pros and cons when Live at 4 continues.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
In fact, the USDA says up to 40% of food in the U.S. ends up getting tossed, often because it goes bad before it's eaten.
But new technology is extending the lifespan of fruits and vegetables. Inside this cardboard box are avocados ready to be shipped to Northern California. Employees at Mission Produce in Oxnard have to move quickly because ripe avocados only have 2 to 4 days of freshness. But Patrick Cordes with Mission Produce says a new technology is changing that.
This is it. And it's as simple as throwing a pack in a box. We've been able to extend the shelf life sometimes 2 to 4 days when fruit's ripe.
According to developers, this pouch slows down the chemical process that causes decay. It contains a blend of materials like dirt and sand, along with the active ingredient IMCP, which interacts with the ethylene gas that is naturally released from the avocado, slowing down the ripening process.
Yeah, that was a $14 word there.
Well, the Ohio pediatrician behind a lighthearted video about vaccines says she is now being targeted by threats and hateful messages.
Dr. Nicole Baldwin says she was concerned about the impact of misleading anti-vaccine posts on social media. So she created this video on the video sharing app TikTok. The video now has more than 1.4 million views. She and her staff quickly became targets. One social media user called Baldwin public enemy #1, and another commenter told the pediatrician to stop killing our kids with vaccines.
I have been the subject of a tsunami of negative comments on all of my social media. There have been negative, fraudulent reviews.
Even though the overwhelming scientific consensus is that vaccines do not cause autism, 16% of parents with children younger than 18 say they still believe vaccines cause more harm than good. In a statement, TikTok said we removed misinformation that could cause harm to an individual's health or wider public safety. Stocks fell on Wall Street after the coronavirus is found in the U.S. The Dow Industrials fell 152 points, closing at 29,196. The Nasdaq dropped 18. The S&P 500 was off 8.
Well, streaming video services like Netflix and Hulu, as you know, are all the rage these days, especially for cord cutters.
But many people who still subscribe to cable and satellite also pay for at least one streaming service. But how do you know which services provide the content you want, and how much do you have to pay to get it?
Our Leah Lynchide and Consumer Reports cuts through the confusion.
If you're having a hard time trying to cut the cord, you're not alone.
I've been trying to cut the cord for 2 months. And it's funny, I write about cutting the cord, and I'm finding it really difficult.
What makes this so hard for consumers, and even for Consumer Reports' Jim Wilcox, who's been covering streaming media since it began?
Every time we come up with a service that we think we can use, there's a program or a network or a channel that one of us wants that's not being offered that we say we can't live without.
From new services like Disney Plus to older favorites like Netflix, the world of streaming media is rapidly changing.
There are services that are designed to really replicate what you used to get with cable TV, but in a streaming service. But then there are also these newer services that are really focused on creating original content.
It used to be that cutting the cord and replacing cable with a streaming service could save lots of money, but that's not always the case anymore.
The calculus of cord cutting has really changed so much that you have to take into account everything from the TV shows you want, the cost of the different services, the cost of broadband. Is it going to go up a lot more if you debundle it from a package?
So what can a confused consumer do?
So one of the first things you need to consider is how are you going to get your local broadcast channels. So if you can get an antenna, that's a great way to do it. Doesn't cost anything other than the cost of the antenna.
Next, sit down with your family and write a list of all the shows you can't live without. Then see which services can provide them at the lowest cost. Websites like realgood.com can help you find out where many shows and movies are available for streaming. For News 3 Now, this is Leah Lynchide. Happy watching.
And Consumer Reports says even if you do cut the cord and you're not saving a lot of money, you're probably at least getting more content that you actually want to watch since you're choosing a service based on what they offer. It can be confusing.
It's very confusing.
There's a lot of them out there.
Thank you, Leah. Coming up later at 4, a new method of treating breast cancer could save lives.
And that research is taking place right here in Madison. That's coming up after Dana's first alert forecast.
For reliable weather day in and day out, watch First Alert Weather.
Well, take a look at this. You can hear the excitement in Bradley O'Neal's voice as he lands this massive jump on his motorcycle in New Mexico. In fact, he pulls off this incredible aerial feat 6 different times, all captured from different angles. It took Bradley and his team almost a full week to move over a ton of dirt to create his 80-foot mega ramp. This type of jump is called a step up, and he admits it was terrifying and awesome at the same time.
And so cool to see the GoPro view from you know, over the handlebars there. That's incredible.
80-foot jump, yeah.
Well, usually it's a bad thing to be called squirrely, but today it's a good thing.
That's because it's National Squirrel Appreciation Day. They're wonderful little creatures. They can even water ski. This was like one of the first big internet videos, right?
Yeah.
A wildlife rehabilitator with the Western North Carolina Nature Center created the day. You can celebrate by putting some food out for the squirrels in your neighborhood, or learning more about the little animal. Here are some fun facts. There are more than 200 species of squirrel, and they live within 3 different types. You got ground, tree, and flying squirrels, of course, and water skiing squirrels.
Yeah. You know, they're cute running around, but when they're at your bird feeder, eating all your seed, they're not so cute.
If they can eat the squirrel food and leave the bird feeders alone. We have them at the Wildlife Center at the Humane Society, and when they come in as little babies, they're so cute. So cute.
Louis chases them, right?
Yeah.
And then the squirrel goes up the tree.
The squirrels go up the tree, and Louis keeps going, wondering where the squirrel went.
Oh, that's funny.
And the squirrel sits up there and
Gotta
yells at
outsmart
him.
the squirrel, man. That's the next step.
I break for them. I do.
Yes. Oh, I do too. I know you're not supposed to, but I do.
But yep.
Especially today.
Especially today.
Squirrel Appreciation.
Squirrel Appreciation Day. Take the little guys.
Appreciate the sunshine.
Give them some num-nums. Yes, we have sunshine right now. Tomorrow's going to be a little milder. We'll look at your forecast right after the break. Overall, not too bad for this evening. Very January winter-like evening. Overnight, our temps are actually going to warm on up. We're going to drop to the middle teens here over the next few hours, and then heading into tomorrow morning, our temps are going to steadily rise into the low 20s. And it's going to be a little breezy outside for Wednesday, but certainly milder. Temperatures will be higher than this afternoon, and then our chance for some light snow will develop late in the day on Wednesday, staying around through Thursday and Friday. We might see a little bit of accumulation along with that. Right now, our high pressure's to the south, so that's why we have the southern breeze coming up, and our temperatures are a little warmer this afternoon. This warm front off to the west, though, is going to continue to slide east, moving through pretty quickly, not bringing anything along with it tonight, but it is going to bring those milder temperatures as we head to the second half of the week. So overnight, we become mostly cloudy, starting off your Wednesday with mostly cloudy skies, and in the afternoon and evening, that light snow and some flurries will start to creep on in and develop. Likely not going to impact your Wednesday evening commute. That light snow is going to stay further off to the west, but it continues overnight into Thursday. Flurries and light snow expected throughout the day on Thursday, with the potential in the late afternoon to maybe see a little bit of rain mixing in for areas mainly south of Madison, since temperatures will be pretty close to freezing, if not right there in the mid-30s. I want to take a broader look now so we can look Thursday and into Friday. There's some light snow expected, of course, throughout the day on Thursday. Friday's that better opportunity, though, to see a little bit of mix coming in at night. So this is a look at early Friday morning. Temperatures around that time will be in the mid-30s, right at 34, 35 degrees. So we'll have some mixed precipitation south of Madison, and then all of that light snow tapers off into early Saturday morning. Though this seems like a long-term event, it's really not going to bring a lot of accumulation. Heading into Thursday morning, totals generally seem to be right around 1 to 2 inches, and that'll be the pattern heading into Thursday and Friday, also likely just going to pick up 1 to 2 more inches. So it'll be a consistent thing through the rest of the work week, but not a major event where we have moments of heavier snow mixed on in. Visibility, another concern, though, for early on Wednesday. We'll have some patchy fog, and then for Thursday, we're also expecting visibility to be reduced as that fog will continue throughout the day. Temps will be pretty close to our dew points. Overnight, we'll hit 15, but that's really just in the next few hours. Temperatures are steadily going to rise into the low 20s for early tomorrow morning, and our skies becoming mostly cloudy overnight, and they're going to stay mostly cloudy throughout the day on Wednesday. Tomorrow afternoon, 32 will be the high, so just a little milder than today. Breezy, those wind speeds at 10 to 20 miles per hour with light snow developing later on in the day. Our alert days are for Thursday and Friday because of the concern for a little bit of mixed precipitation. Could get a little bit of rain, mainly south of Madison, and that fog coming through. Anytime we see our visibility reduced, never a good thing. So the alert day is not really due to an excessive amount of snow coming in, just more the visibility concern for the end of the week. But temperatures,
look at those temps.
Quite a trend there in the mid-30s, holding on with overnight lows in the mid-20s. So a very consistent pattern through the entire 10-day.
We usually have at least 1 week in January where it's, 21 below zero or something,
right.
and that hasn't happened even close this year.
It hasn't happened. We got a little cold Sunday morning, but the wind chill's dropping a little bit, but no, we haven't had a cold stretch.
Not that I'm complaining.
26 below last year, remember that?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
That's right.
So we'll talk at the end of winter to see what has all occurred, but right now it hasn't happened yet.
It ain't over yet.
Yeah.
All right, Dana, thank you.
Thank you, Dana.
Well, hundreds of pets have been left homeless after the devastating earthquakes in Puerto Rico.
But now, after an incredibly long journey, many have a chance at a new life here on the U.S. mainland. Lisa Mateo reports from an animal shelter in Madison, New Jersey.
For these precious pets, St. Hubert's Animal Welfare Center in New Jersey is more than a temporary home. About 40 rescue dogs arrived into the shelter over the weekend after traveling more than 1,000 miles from the earthquake-ravaged island of Puerto Rico.
We have some younger puppy-like dogs, and then there are probably some in the 3 to 4, so there are some adult ones as well.
Michelle Thevenin of St. Hubert's says the canines were removed from shelters overwhelmed with new rescues on the island.
We typically think, they're going to euthanize all the animals, but no, they sent them to us so we can adopt them out.
Animal rescue teams airlifted about 100 pets from San Juan to shelters right here in New Jersey and other states in a race to get them adopted.
There are over 500,000 stray dogs across Puerto Rico.
Eric Larnick of the Sato Project orchestrated the effort in conjunction with Wings of Rescue, which flew the at-risk pets to safety.
They've already gone through a vetting process. They've already been treated clinically, so, their chances for adoption are pretty great.
The organizations also delivered much-needed supplies to the people of Puerto Rico still living in the disaster zone. As the island continues to recover, they hope the animals find new families to love them in the States. Lisa Mateo, CBS News, New Jersey.
Oh, I wish I could take
Lots
one
of wagging
or 10.
tails. 10.
A series of quakes, of course, has hit Puerto Rico since December, causing widespread damage and power outages.
Been tough times on the island. Well, there's more to come at 4, including a conversation with Representative Brian Stile.
And then tonight at 5, how the city of Madison and Dane County are working together to make life a little bit easier for new moms.
The links
There's a live picture on Lake Mendota, a little impromptu hockey rink there.
Hopefully the ice is thick enough.
Yeah, season the day while the ice is thick. Oh, that's great. That's a great Madison shot. Best time of the year. A new technology developed by UW-Madison professors is changing the way that surgeons see breast cancer tumors that they're removing.
Our Amanda Quintana shows us how Madison hospitals are leading the way, making for a more precise cancer removal.
Trying to find your way home or just where you parked your car in this day and age, that's pretty easy. Starting route to home. But finding a tumor?
When I first met this engineering team, I said, Google can see my driveway. Why can't I see the cancer?
For the last 70 years, when doctors biopsy a breast cancer tumor, they insert a little clip at the center. But when it comes time to remove the tumor, surgeons can't see where that clip is.
It's not findable. It's not targetable.
So right before surgery, a radiologist has to mark that area for the surgeon with a wire.
And it literally is a piece of wire that highlights and targets the lesion and then pokes out the skin. And then the surgeon uses that wire to get to the cancer, like a lollipop on a stick.
That pain, leaving wires sticking out, an additional procedure in an already stressful day.
The patients on the morning of surgery haven't eaten, they're anxious. A lot of them faint when they go get the wires placed.
But why can't that clip that's already in there just tell doctors where it is? That question pushed Dr. Lee Wilkie, along with UW-Madison professors of radiology and engineering, to come up with Lucent Medical's Smart Clip.
It's a GPS, but it's a GPS that's not turned on until you lay on the operative table.
And I'm right exactly over where that clip is.
At SSM Health St. Mary's Hospital, one of Dr. Wilkie's students got to be the first in the world to use the new device in surgery.
So the nice thing about this is I can say within a few millimeters exactly where this breast cancer is and exactly where the clip is. And that's really important because then we're not taking out too much tissue, but we're taking out the right amount of tissue.
Dr. Dana Hinkle says now, instead of having to guess or question how far in the wire is, the Smart Clip shows her.
It has these concentric circles, which are, centimeters. So I can actually plan and map out how much tissue I want to take out.
The revolutionary piece of this technology is in the mattress, essentially turning the Smart Clip's GPS on when it's in between the surgical knife and the pad.
So I can see in real time 3 dimensions, an XYZ coordinate to the lesion between these 2 points.
Innovation that could be used to see other cancers better too.
So there I'm about 2 centimeters.
For now, the Smart Clip is streamlining the breast cancer removal process, placed weeks or months ahead of time, cutting out an additional uncomfortable procedure and the need for a radiologist right before surgery.
You can arrive hopefully a little bit later and not have to be up at the crack of dawn. And more importantly, it's just, you're not having a wire or a needle coming out of the breast.
Giving surgeons clear directions to the tumor to get it out the first time.
It's MapQuest for the clip. I know exactly how to get to it.
Amanda Quintana, News 3 Now.
And the Smart Clip is being used in a handful of hospitals right now, but plans to be in 15 hospital systems by the end of the month. And Amanda's here now to talk about this device. It's interesting to think that this technology that we use all the time to find...
All the time.
GPS.
Your phone, if you lose your phone, you can hit your watch. It tells you where it is. But I guess just kind of late to get to this. And you would think, why isn't there a GPS on this already?
It's such brilliant technology. It's like, why didn't we think of this sooner? And this is for biopsies at any stage of breast cancer?
Yes, so they can do it months, weeks ahead of time so that before the surgery, they don't need to have that additional procedure. I'm sure you're already nervous. It's already a scary day. You don't want to add another procedure right before this removal.
And all developed right here in Madison.
All right here in Madison. So 3 Madison professors, and then St. Mary's was the first place to do these procedures. So really, Madison is leading the way in this.
Incredible.
Amazing work going on out there. That's for sure.
That's for sure.
Thanks for sharing the story.
Thanks, Amanda.
Very interesting. Still to come before, it was just over a year ago that Brian Stile took the oath of office.
We'll talk with the first-term congressman from Wisconsin's 1st Congressional District about his first year and the impeachment trial when Live at 4 continues.
That's the exact opposite of how it should be. People should be working together in a far more productive
Traffic scooting along a little more tonight compared to where we were at last night, of course. Here's a look at downtown, East Washington at 2nd Street. All lanes seem to be pretty busy, but everyone is moving. That's the good news. We don't have any major stop points. Along the Beltline, we're slowing down near Fish Hatchery Road. There is an accident on the Mineral Point exit to get onto the northbound side of the Beltline, so we are seeing a few delays. It looks like on Mineral Point, but nothing on the Beltline right now. No major delays there. Looking around the Janesville area, there we go. No major delays downtown. No accidents to report around Janesville or in Rock County, and the interstate all the way down to the state line. Pretty smooth. Now from Janesville to the Beltline, we're still at 24 minutes, 17 minutes to get from Sauk City to Middleton, and some parade to downtown. Pretty reasonable right now, about 18 minutes. That's a quick look at traffic.
All right, thank you, Dana. More than 500 babies have been baptized in a mass ceremony in Georgia, the country of Georgia, not the state. A few dips into the water and a few tears. Oh, buddy. These babies begin their journey in the Orthodox Christian.
Dunk them right head first.
Oh, my goodness. Before you even know what hit you. See, there you go. The church is filled with tears, laughter, buckets of water, priests, babies, and the godparents for the mass ceremony.
Different techniques there used.
Well, as the Senate begins its impeachment trial of President Trump, many members of the House are in their districts talking to their constituents.
Representative Brian Stile, who took over Paul Ryan's seat in Janesville last year, is holding listening sessions this week. We spoke with him earlier about what issues he's looking to work on this year in Washington.
Well, Congressman, it's good to see you. It's good to get a chance to talk to you. We don't often get an opportunity to do this. So
thanks for having me on.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. So you are in the seat now that was formerly held by former House Speaker Paul Ryan. Before we talk about impeachment and politics and all those things, tell us a little bit about what it's been like for you to fill those shoes and kind of what the learning curve has been like a little bit in Washington.
It's been a busy first year. I've enjoyed the work, but it definitely has its challenges. Washington, as we all know, is hyper-partisan right now, which I think is frustrating, not only for myself, but for everybody, really. But I've dove in. I've tried to be people's voice in Washington, and to do that, you got to listen. And so I spent a lot of time in the first year going around, speaking to people, hearing what their issues are, to become more effective at the job in Washington.
Anything surprise you? Anything, was it like you thought it was going to be?
You know, probably the one thing that comes out is the ingrained partisanship that we see in Washington. I'll give you a real quick example. You arrive there for effectively new member onboarding, right? Democrats and Republicans, everyone's staying in the same place. And you come out the first day to go to the Capitol, and there's two buses. One for Democrats and one for Republicans. That's the exact opposite of how it should be. People should be working together in a far more productive manner. I think we would all be better off if we remove some of the partisanship that we see in Washington.
Well, and your election sort of coincided with the Democrats taking control of the House in the 2018 midterms. So in addition to the learning curve of Washington, you're trying to navigate Congress while being in the minority, too. So what has that been like?
For me, it puts a little more pressure to find the wins, right? So the big transformational change is going to be harder to get through in a period of divided government, but there are opportunities to work on some of the smaller issues. So I've been working aggressively as it relates to combating human trafficking, some of the illicit financing that's associated with that. It's trying to find the small wins in a period of divided government and take those and run those across the line.
Is there a way to bring the government together?
I think we're going to have to. I think as we look in particular at our national debt, $23 trillion in debt, we're going to have to come together, Democrats and Republicans, to really address the fiscal situation that's going on in the United States. It's incumbent upon us to do that. I think we're going to see a challenging period of time leading up to the election. I'm optimistic, though, that we're going to be able to tackle some of these things yet this year.
Well, the Senate impeachment trial begins today of President Trump, and you're spending time in this week away from Washington, meeting with your constituents, traveling around the district. What are some of the things you're hearing from people about what's happening right now in Washington?
I can't get through the grocery store without somebody grabbing my arm to talk about the rising cost of health care. I think that's front of mind for everyone and an issue that we should be working together to tackle, particularly as it relates to the cost of prescription drugs. I think we also talk a lot about protecting Medicare and Social Security for our seniors and to keep those programs stable for generations to come. I'd say those are the top issues that people talk about.
Are your constituents talking to you about impeachment? Is that what are they expressing opinions or?
On occasion, it is definitely does not seem to be at all a top issue to people as I go around and talk. It's definitely people have opinions on it, but I think the number one issue that people come to me and talk to me about is about the rising cost of health care.
Do you think it can be a fair trial without witnesses and evidence?
I think the House Democrats brought a lot of that information forward. I think that the Senate's going to look at it. I looked at the evidence. I don't think there's an impeachable offense. I think the Senate will find the same, but the Senate's going to play that out. It's now in their hands.
New CNN poll, 51% of Americans approve removing the president. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I reviewed the evidence myself. I don't think there's an impeachable offense. We're now well less than 1 year to the election. The Iowa caucuses begins the Democratic process to find their candidate in less than a month. I think we're best off to have the American people decide.
And you're going to have a busy week here in southern Wisconsin. A lot of town halls.
Yeah, so I'm all over the place this week trying to listen to people, hear what's on their mind, and have a conversation. I'm going to spend all day Friday on the road across southeast Wisconsin, starting in Rock County Friday morning and traveling across the district. We're doing 5 town halls. I think it's important to go out and have that conversation about how can we improve our federal government, and let's work together to find some of those solutions.
We're very grateful for your time in a busy week while you're here at home. Congressman Stiles, great to see you. Thank you for coming today.
Thanks for having me on.
And we also reached out to Democratic Representative Mark Pocan.
We did not hear back today. He didn't respond immediately to our request, but we hope to have him on very soon, maybe even hopefully this week while he's still in the Madison area.
Yeah, while he's in the district. All right, we'll be right back with a final check of your forecast.
At her
Reality check of the weather here. It's a little chilly, but it's January.
It's January. It feels like winter outside right now. Here's a live look downtown. Folks out enjoying the ice.
We're looking for the Statue of Liberty, but it's not up yet. It doesn't look
hasn't happened yet. Temperatures overnight dropping to the teens here, or into the middle teens in just a little bit. We'll be in the low 20s for tomorrow morning. Alert days for Thursday and Friday with snow.
Just a little bit.
A little bit of snow.
All right. Tomorrow here on Live at 4, we'll have Lisa Briggs from the Bruce Company. She has some craft ideas for us.
And we'll tell you how you can help a child stay warm this winter. It's the Recycle the Warmth Blanket Drive. That's coming up tomorrow on Live at 4.
If you're